The Emergency Management Agency held this news conference to talk about their latest relief efforts to assist those affected by last week's terrorist attacks in New York and Washington at the Pentagon. The briefing was about 15 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Brown, the Deputy Director of the agency. It's good to see everyone this morning. Director Albaugh is still in New York this morning. He will be leaving shortly for Pennsylvania. He's going to travel to the crash site there to visit the site, and we'll be meeting either the governor or the lieutenant governor there to visit the site and see what's going on. He will be returning to New York later this afternoon to continue his work at the Disaster Field Office in New York. He will continue his work with both Governor Pataki and Mayor Giuliani, whose teams are working incredibly well with FEMA, coordinating extremely well to continue to respond to the disaster in New York. Later on, I'll ask Bruce Baughman to touch on the efforts of the urban search and rescue teams, but I did want to take just a moment to make a comment about those teams and the incredible work that they're doing in New York and at the Pentagon. It's been a little over a week now. I know they're tired. They remain continually strong in their spirit, strong in their dedication to getting the job done, and are doing a great job under very, very difficult and tiring circumstances. And I just think we should all tip our hat to the incredible work that they're doing. FEMA's focus right now is assisting the families in both disasters who have lost so much. We will continue to coordinate those efforts, but I want to emphasize that because these are crime scenes, they are victims of crime, that the primary effort will be focused through the Department of Justice and their Victim Crimes Act. They will be working with them to address the needs that they have and to address the special circumstances under which they've been involved as victims. The crime victims from both the Pentagon and the World Trade Center include the passengers on the planes, in addition to those people that were on the grounds and in the buildings. They will be eligible for compensation through the Victims of Crime Act administered by the state where the crime occurred, either in New York or in Virginia. This act will cover the medical expenses, mental health counseling, funeral expenses, lost wages, and loss of support. In New York, we have a telephone number for those victims to call. The New York telephone number is 800-247-8035. The number is 800-247-8035. In Virginia, the Virginia telephone number is 800-552-4007. The Virginia number is 800-552-4007. In Pennsylvania, the telephone number is 800-692-7292. Again, the Pennsylvania number is 800-692-7292. For residents of New York, they will be entitled to temporary housing, loss of personal property compensation, and their FEMA's teleregistration number for those types of assistance. For temporary housing and loss of personal property, they need to call the FEMA telephone number, 800-462-9029. Again, 800-462-9029. The same programs are pending for the residents in the area of Washington, D.C. For that same type of assistance. For businesses, there will be available low-interest loans through the U.S. Small Business Administration. They can contact the SBA at 800-659-2955. Again, for businesses, they can contact the SBA at 800-659-2955. For the families, the victims of the firefighters and the police officers, they will have benefits available through the Public Safety Officers Benefits Program, and they need to contact their department for that information. Unfortunately, the federal government cannot provide all the benefits, but I think through the coordination that FEMA is providing through the SBA, through the Department of Justice and the others, we will be able to cover almost all the needs of the victims in all these disasters and all these crime scenes. FEMA will continue to work with debris removal. The Army Corps of Engineers is doing an incredibly good job for us. They're coordinating well both with FEMA and with Mayor Giuliani in getting the debris removal started. That will begin to pick up a little bit. It's been done primarily on the periphery right now, but that will get into full gear as we move on. I will ask now, simply because I have to run to another meeting, ask Bruce Baughman to come forward and talk about some of the operations. He'll be able to give you more information and more details. Again, I appreciate all the attention and visibility that you're giving to FEMA in our effort to get out what we can to the victims of these disasters. Thank you very much. Bruce?
Morning. We continue to run 24-hour operations here at our Emergency Operations Center, supporting operations both in New York and at the Pentagon. Currently, we have close to 7,000 federal personnel that are deployed to both locations. Search and rescue-wise, and here's what we're doing out in the field in all of our functional areas. We have 8 FEMA Urban Search and Rescue task forces in New York, 2 non-FEMA task forces, and 4 more are on their way, deploying today. These task forces are from California, Missouri, Florida, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Texas, and Utah. Deploying today will be task forces from California, Arizona, and Washington. At the Pentagon, returning home today, demobilizing from the New York City will be Pennsylvania, Indiana, and Ohio teams are released and are returning home today. At the Pentagon, we have 2 task forces in place, one from Tennessee, one from New Mexico. Tom Davies, our Federal Coordinating Officer at the Pentagon, will give you more details on that here in a minute. In addition to that, Public Health Services has 5 disaster medical teams supporting the operation. They have teams from New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts that are in place. They have 4 disaster mortuary teams from various locations that have set up a mobile morgue at the LaGuardia Airport, assisting the City of New York in identification of the victims. Currently, we have 3 mobilization centers set up supporting the 2 locations, 2 in New York supporting that operation, and 1 here at Anacostia. What those are support locations where we bring our federal resources into the area before we dispatch them into the city for assistance. The U.S. Forest Service is providing incident management teams along with the General Services Administration and DOD to support those mobilization centers. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have 10 debris experts that are supporting the City of New York. To date, 50,000 tons of debris have been removed. Our current estimates still stand at 600,000 tons. We think that is on the low side. We're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million to possibly 2 million tons of debris. And General Griffin from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will give you more information on that here in a minute. The Environmental Protection Agency is working with the City of New York to continue monitoring particulate and ambient particulate in the area, things such as asbestos. They currently have 10 monitoring stations around the World Trade Center. They will be bringing another 20, putting them at the site within the week. The State Department has reported to us that 64 countries had personnel that suffered casualties in the World Trade Center. In response to that, 52 nations and the European Union have offered various types of assistance, and we're in the process of taking them up on some of those offers. And lastly, the energy situation in downtown Manhattan is returning to normal. Con Ed is working feverishly to get facilities back online. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is working with them to meet emergency power requirements at each one of those locations. Okay, with that, what I'd like to do is introduce Tom Davies. Tom is our Federal Coordinating Officer for the Pentagon operation. Tom?
Thank you, Bruce. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to give you more down-in-the-street information. First of all, FEMA is one of many agencies involved in the search and recovery efforts at the Pentagon, and our role is to facilitate coordination of all those resources. I need to stress to the American public that the reason this operation is working so well is due to the tremendous coordination and support between local, state, and federal agencies on scene. And that's not just lip service. I've been there. It's working because of the tremendous efforts of the men and women on the urban search and rescue teams and the allied fire service, police service, and state agencies that are there supporting, as well as federal resources. Urban search and rescue, just to touch on some specifics, they've made excellent progress under difficult conditions. Right now, I also would like to commend the teams from Fairfax County, Virginia, and Montgomery County, Maryland, who went home today to get back with their families. We are proud that FEMA is able to provide funding and training for those groups. They are true American heroes. The Virginia Beach and Tennessee teams are leaving today we wish them well and thank them for the American people. The New Mexico team will be the only team on board by Friday, and they will be providing support service to the ongoing recovery operation. They will be working with the fire departments, Arlington, Alexandria, and Fairfax. Special rescue teams from Fort Belvoir. I also want to commend the chief, who is the overall commander for the operation on scene from Arlington Fire Department. He has just done a phenomenal job. Ed Pfluger, absolutely amazing. Talk briefly about assistance for individuals. I want to commend the governor of Virginia for being proactive in establishing the Terrorism Victims Helpline. That number is toll-free, 866-827-3543. This has been a wonderful resource to help the victims of this tragedy connect with the agencies and organizations that can provide needed assistance. FEMA will continue to work with the Commonwealth and the counties to help people affected by this natural disaster. We will look to fill the void, and it's a tremendous outpouring from Department of Justice and Department of Defense, NTSB, FBI, and all the other agencies, both at county and federal level. FEMA is looking to fill any voids. There will be a few. To date, out of the 189 folks at the Pentagon site that were involved in this tragedy, 33 bodies have been positively identified at Dover Air Force Base. That's really all I have to say at this moment. We continue to work. The only way this is happening in such a coordinated and functional way is, again, due to tremendous cooperation. Everyone left their ego at the fence and is working well to make this this tragic event handled in a proper manner. I'd like to now turn it over to the General for further comments.
I am Brigadier General Robert Griffin with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'll focus on three areas. First is debris. The focus remains urban search and rescue. The city of New York is making excellent progress still. I was up there for the last couple of days, and they're doing this through 4 contractors. The Corps of Engineers, working for FEMA, continues to provide monitoring and quality assurance. This is a tremendous debris operation. They're removing materials with both 5-gallon buckets and 5-yard bucket loaders. They're hauling this debris to the Staten Island landfill site by both truck and barge. It turns out they were actually about to close down this landfill site in January. I talked to some of the operators there, and they were actually steam cleaning their barges to sell them off. And they've got 90 barges. They're 30 feet wide, 100 feet long, 25 feet deep. They hold about 700 tons of debris in each one of these barges, so they have tremendous capability. They've also got 60 cubic yard dump trucks out there, similar to what you'd see on a mining site. So they're fortunate to have great capability in the city to handle the debris that is coming from the World Trade Center. At the debris site, and this is down on Staten Island where this is going, the NYPD, with assistance from the FBI and Secret Service personnel, are sifting debris for both evidence and human remains. As Mr. Baughman said, they now have 50,000 tons rather at the site now removed. And as he said, the estimates are 600,000 to 1 million. Again, this is 1 week into a slow, tedious process. We expect it to speed up over time, but we continue to be very impressed with their operation. On emergency power, again, as Mr. Baughman noted, Con Ed now has this well in hand. Our prime power people who have been up there for the last week are in the process now of finishing up and will demobilize very soon. Our structural engineering support, we continue to support the urban search and rescue effort, and probably more important is to monitor the buildings right around the World Trade Center, because some of them are severely damaged. We need to make sure that they're safe as all the rescue people work right at the World Trade Center, so that is one of our missions as well. Finally, I'd like to tell you, having been up there and seen this operation at the World Trade Center and all the way back to the debris, the landfill there, I've looked in the faces of the police, the firemen, all the federal support agencies, and I see great resolution, a great will to continue. They are very strong. It's the exact same face of determination that I saw personally in Desert Storm, and I think we as Americans can all be proud of the efforts going up there at this time and the strength and resolution. And that's all I have.
Okay. At this time, we'd like to open it up to any questions you might have. One of the things I'd like to say kind of as a closing remark is the city of New York has really done a tremendous job. All of the efforts that we talked about this morning really there in support of the city of New York. And normally we have to provide a lot of response assistance, a lot of help. The city of New York has just been tremendous. So all we've had to do is to augment their ongoing resources up at the World Trade Center. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Give us the director's schedule more specifically.
The director is in New York right now. He has not set a date for his return. We'll double check unless he's done that within the last hour or so, but he is in New York right now. Do you want his daily schedule? And if you would, okay.
And what about the personnel going to the Pennsylvania site?
To the Pennsylvania site? Right now, what directly is your question about going to the Pennsylvania site?
What's going on?
Right now, the personnel at the Pennsylvania site are really doing some assessment. There is, under NTSB's authority, some medical personnel that are responding to that particular site. Does that answer your question? Other questions? Thank you very much.